All right, welcome back to another one of our film reviews. Today we are talking Chicago Bears young offensive tackle Theo Benedet. Benedet had a solid performance going up against New Orleans Saints edge rusher Chase Young in the pass rushing situations. That's what we're going to break down today. Talk about what Benedet did well, what he can work on going forward, and why I think the future is bright for this young left tackle. As always, in the comment section below, give us any feedback you have. If you're a fan of these film reviews and want to help support us so we can do more of them, consider becoming a member of our channel. There's a link in the description box below that will take you right there. But without further ado, let's jump right into the film. All right, let's get going with some one-on-one pass rush. There's Benedet, of course, at left tackle, and there's Chase Young, the high-quality pass rusher. I'm not going to call him a superstar, but he's a good player, edge rusher for the New Orleans Saints. And Benedet right here, he's going to be one-on-one, and this is an opportunity. You can see the New Orleans Saints, they got a lot of people walked up around the line of scrimmage. The goal is to create some confusion, but also to create this one-on-one matchup right here that you see. Chase Young, one-on-one on number 79. Let's check out how Benedet does. Tough opportunity. Let's see if he steps up. There's a snap. Pretty good protection. Gets the ball out. Nice completion. All right, let's go all the way back to the beginning. Let's look at the left tackle. Good kick slide. Another good kick slide right there. Good position. He's leaning a little bit too much. He's got his shoulders turned a little bit too much. But to be totally honest, Darnell Wright kind of in the same boat. So not bad so far. Gets his hands involved. Good to see that. He's got, again, a solid base. He's a little bit upright, but not terrible. Good technique up to this point, right? Good punch right there. Gets his hand inside. Avoids the hands to the face. So good job there. Good position. Now run your feet and turn the corner. Pretty good, right? Again, not elite. We're not talking all pro here, but more than good enough for the Bears. Helps result in a nice completion. All right, for the wide copy, look at Benedet right there at left tackle. Again, one-on-one on Chase Young. Good kick step, good kick step. Runs him around the hoop. Nicely done. Again, the PFF sites and the analytics sites, they won't give this rep an A+, but this is more than enough, right? Chase Young, defensive end, nowhere near Caleb Williams when he makes his throw. We're talking 3-4 yards away from the quarterback. The ball snapped at, the 15? Young runs around the hoop at like the 25. That's 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage. That's good enough, right? This is what you get. If this is left tackle play the rest of the year with Theo Benedet, that's extremely good, especially considering, again, this is Chase Young, a really solid edge rusher. Good play right here from the young left tackle. All right, similar situation. You can see the Saints have a bunch of people right around the line of scrimmage, and part of that is you get a one-on-one matchup. Once again, Chase Young on Benedet. Listen, left tackle on an island, you got to get it done. Bears going to bring some motion here pre-snap, but it doesn't affect the young offensive lineman. Let's see how he does. There's the motion. There's the snap. Protection runs out. Caleb Williams has to escape, scramble a little bit, keeping it alive, just can't find anybody, ends up throwing it away. All right, let's go all the way back to the beginning and look at 79 at left tackle right here. Break it all down. And there we go. Okay, there's a snap. Again, good kick slide, a little bit on his toes. Look where his toes are and compare that to Darnell Wright. You see Darnell Wright's on his instep right there. He's in a good position. Good position right there. Benedet on his toes a little bit. That's not very powerful, right? So what happens when the bull rush comes? Again, you're on your toes. You get caught, you get driven back into the quarterback. You got to be on your instep, right? You got to be in a powerful position, not on your toes right there. The temptation is to lean a little bit, right? Because you feel stronger. If your weight's back, you feel weaker. But actually, if you're on your instep like Darnell Wright is here, you're actually in a good position to absorb the bull rush and then anchor down and stop it like 58 did at right tackle. This is something Benedet needs to work on. This was probably the weakest part of his game. Right here, the patience is good. The hand strike is good. But he's just in a bad football position, and I think he may even get tripped up a little bit there, which certainly doesn't help the cause. But overall, he gets bull rushed into the quarterback. Right here, that's the pressure. That's not good. But the one positive, he keeps fighting. He keeps working. Stays with it. Doesn't give up. I love the effort. Again, overall, technically, not his best rep, but he keeps fighting, and he gives his quarterback a chance. So even on one of his worst plays, he still showcases that effort that I'm sure the Bears coaches really appreciate. Needs to improve, though, keeping his feet in a better position. All right, for the wide copy, you see Benedet right there. Gets blown into the quarterback, pressure caused. But again, he keeps fighting. He stays with it. And here's one of the things. You can see right there, he's on his toes. He's totally out of whack. And when Chase Young comes into that power move into his chest, he's got no base. Even though he's a big, strong guy and he uses his arms and his length really well, because he has no base, he gets blown back. Look at Darnell Wright. Again, doesn't use his arms very well, kind of absorbs the contact. But because he's not on his toes and his feet are in a good position, he can absorb it, anchor it down, and do a good job. This is something, again, 79 needs to work on. I think he'll get better with reps, but this is something that can't happen consistently if you're going to be a starting left tackle. All right, here we go. Once again, Benedet going the other way. He's one-on-one against Chase Young. There's Chase Young right there. He's in a wide 5 technique. You may even call this a wide 7 or 9. The reason for this is they're trying to get a lot of green grass here because the Saints think that 99 can win this outright. The Bears bring some motion pre-snap, but once again, it's all on the left tackle. The young left tackle do his job. Let's check it out. There's motion. There's the snap. Gets rid of the football. Good completion. Big play. Nicely done. All right, it's a quick-ish throw, but let's look at the left tackle. All right, good kick step there, but he's on his toes a little bit, right? Still on his toes, right? He's trying to get more on his instep there, so I think he's trending in the right direction, but he's a little uncomfortable with it. I think technically this is what he needs to work on, and he really likes to use that left hand. You can see it right there. He loves using it like as a jab, the way a boxer would, to try and stop the momentum, and right there it works. And he basically uses his left hand. You can see this, and this isn't a bad idea, to kind of slow the momentum and then use his right arm to run him around the hump. That's not terrible. And the result for this play isn't terrible for the Bears, right? Forces Chase Young around the quarterback. Caleb Williams could step up if he wanted to. 99's already well past the quarterback. No chance to get the sack and run way upfield. You can see right there on the left side of your screen. So this is a solid rep from Benedet. Again, I don't love the fact he's on his toes. Definitely something he has to clean up technically, but not bad overall. All right, from the wide copy, you can see Benedet right there. One-on-one pass rush. There's the motion. There's the snap. There's that jab with his left hand, takes his right hand, and actually doesn't get his right hand around him. He just uses that left hand. There it is. There's that right hand to sling him around the quarterback. You can see where's the ball snap, the 43, it looks like, of the New Orleans Saints. Where does Chase Young get run around to? About the 48 of the Bears, so we're talking about 9-10 yards deep. That's getting close, but again, if you run the quarterback around the hump, he could step up if he wanted to. He could escape if he wanted to. It's better to have this happen than to have a bull rush right into the quarterback's lap. Again, not perfect from Benedet here, but more than good enough, especially against a good player. All right, let's switch it up. There's Benedet, of course, at left tackle, but this is number 58 for New Orleans. Not nearly a good a pass rusher. It's going to be a one-on-one situation once again, but it's amazing what happens when you got a young left tackle going up against a defensive end who's not as good as Chase Young. You look better. Let's check it out. There's a snap. All kinds of time. Quick throw. Nice little gain. All right, let's look at the left tackle. Again, one-on-one. Kick step, absorbs the contact. Again, I love how he plays low, right? He leans a little bit, but he's trying to keep his pads low. I love to see that. Again, low man wins, even in pass protection. That's always true. Again, I don't love the lean. I don't love being on your toes, but I guess maybe he's comfortable that way. So you obviously want to be more on your instep than on your toes, but I think going forward, if he can figure out a little more instep, he'll be stronger, but he absorbs the contact, anchors down, and stops the rush. Again, 58 right there for New Orleans is nowhere near the level of player as Chase Young. And you can see right here, though, Benedet's still able to handle him with ease. That's one of the things I look for with young tackles, right? When you go up against second-rate competition, I'm not trying to pick on number 58 here, do you look better? And that's the case we see here. Good sign for the future for Benedet. All right, from the wide copy, we get some motion right there. Benedet one-on-one, picks him up, stops it, and stays on him. Look at him pushing him. Love the effort. Love the little nastiness right there for number 79. Good to see. Again, pass protection doesn't have to be passive. You can still get pancakes. You can still throw people around, and I'm here for it, right? Be a little nasty. Obviously, this is number 58 for New Orleans, not nearly the quality of player, and Benedet manhandles him a little bit. It's good to see from the young tackle. All right, quick break in the film review. Look, I was taught to break down film by my college coaches at the Division I level. All the players are. It's just a fact of playing football at that level. And I want to take this opportunity to give you guys, the average fan, more opportunities to get that insider knowledge of how the game is taught at that highest level of college football. I created a checklist, a step-by-step guide for you guys, 100% free. That's based on how I was taught to break down film by my coaches, and then I use today to create these film reviews. There's a link in the description box below that'll take you right to it. I really appreciate it if you guys decide to get it. Again, 100% free, just trying to share information to you guys, stuff that was taught to me by my coaches. But without further ado, let's get back into the film. All right, Chase Young's back in the game, number 99 right there. And this time the Bears, they have a tight end, Colston Loveland, lined up next to Benedet, number 79, of course, at left tackle. Colston Loveland's going to give a little bit of chip help on Chase Young. We're still going to get a one-on-one matchup there with the young left tackle on 99 for New Orleans. Let's see how he does. There's a snap. Got some time. All kinds of time. Throws it to the sideline. And unfortunately, it's intercepted. All right, let's look at number 79 right here. I am not a big fan of giving chip help. That's just me personally, unless you've got a guy, a tight end, who's a really good chipper that can really punish defensive ends. Some guys are good at it. Colston Loveland, not a very good chip there. And to be totally honest, if you're Benedet right here in this situation, you're pass set, you're kind of trying to, time the relationship between you and the defensive end, and the chip can throw it off, right? You can be in your kick step and actually see 99 jumping inside the chip. Now Young right there has a little bit of momentum, and Benedet's flat-footed. So I'm not a big fan of chips personally. I understand why people use it, but you should only really use it, in my opinion, if you've got a tight end or running back who's actually willing and able to chip. Let's look at 79 right here. Good kick step, kind of misses with his hands, but right here, He almost leans. He almost gets beat, but he recovers a little bit, gives a little shove right there to allow Chase Young to go around the hump. Again, not a great rep. I'm sure the PFF guys and all the Atlantic sites call this a loss. And it's not exactly a win for Benedet, but if we count down the time here, right? 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 4, right? We're talking about almost 4 seconds. The ball's gone. Defensive end nowhere near the quarterback. Is this workable? Yes. And sometimes left tackle on an island, you're going for workable, right? It's the NFL. It's not going to look pretty, right? This isn't like Tennessee for Darnell Wright playing Vanderbilt, although I guess Vanderbilt's pretty good these days. But this is a tough situation against a good player, and Benedet, once again, does just enough. All right, from the wide copy, you can see Colston, Loveland, and Benedet right there. You can see this chip right here. It kind of doesn't really do anything. I guess it slows down Chase Young. But you can see 79, because of the chip, kind of gets flat-footed, and now Young tries to go around. But Benedet, again, does his best to run him upfield. All right, let's look at the line of scrimmage. Ball was snapped at the 33 of the Bears. Where does Chase Young complete the hoop around? Right around the 22 and a half, right? We're talking 10 yards. That's doable. That'll work, right? If you force these defensive ends to run 10 yards upfield and you push them by the quarterback, if he wanted to, Caleb Williams, he could have stepped up and scrambled easily. If you give good quarterbacks, smart quarterbacks, like number 18 is, this kind of option to scramble if they want, it's a good play. Obviously, Williams throws the pick. It's far from his best play. But right here, once again, 79, doing more than enough at left tackle. All right, this is one of my favorite reps from Theo Benedet all day long. He's at left tackle, of course, and he's got the tight end here. This time there's going to be no chip help, right? 84 Loveland's just going to release out into his pass route. And Chase Young, the defensive end, he's going to do my favorite pass rush move for defensive ends to use, speed to power. Threat with speed vertically, then put your foot in the ground and ram through the offensive tackle's chest and bull rush to the quarterback. I think it's the best move any defensive end. If you have any sort of power or really any speed to threaten tackles, I think it's the best move to use. And Benedet right here does a really good job, even without, alleged chip help. I'm not a big fan of chip help, but a lot of people like it. Even without the help, the young left tackle does a good job. Let's check it out. There's a snap. All kinds of time. Lofts it downfield. Completed pass. Bad offensive pass interference penalty. But let's look at Benedet right here. Again, a lot of green grass. So what does Chase Young do? Speed to power. Threat with speed. See how he gets vertical? He's threatening with speed. Now he transitions to power, but Benedet shuts him down. That's how you do it, guys. This is perfect, right? This is winning football. This is what I want from my left tackle. Again, technically, things to work on, of course, as always, but he eliminates the speed to power. I love how he closes the ground a little bit, and he's not really leaning too much. Again, he's on his toes a little bit, but he kind of corrects there to get back on his instep. He gets kind of airborne there, but he's in a good football position right there to anchor down. That's it right there. That is the shot. That's where you want to be. You got knee bend, hip bend, you got instep, you got your hands inside, you've negated the speed to power. That is the position. Again, a lot of green grass here. He eliminates the green grass. You can make an argument that you'd want him to set, more vertically instead of diagonally, but he cuts off the green grass, eliminates the speed to power move before 99 can even build any momentum. Solid job here from 79. All right, from the wide copy, get a really good look at it right here. You can see at the snap, he gets out there, eliminates the move. Look at that. Perfect pocket, all kinds of time. Now, the one criticism you could argue is at the very end, it just looks ugly. Right here, he kind of gets thrown on his knees. Not great. I don't care how it looks after the play. I really don't. Did you protect Caleb Williams or not? And I know some people, they'll look at this and say, oh, he got thrown around, he got hip tossed or whatever. I don't care. Did you win? Did Caleb Williams have enough time? Did you go one-on-one against a good pass rusher and do your job? And right here, Theo Benedet did. That's what I care about. Listen, if they were paying him $100 million a year, right, I'd say, okay, how about we not get hip tossed a little bit? That would be preferred. But tell you what, they're not, right? They're putting him in there because they think he's an upgrade. And so far, he's doing a lot of good things. Not perfect, but he's trending in the right direction. All right, on the previous play, we showed Chase Young right there at defensive end and Theo Benedet right there at left tackle. We showed Benedet shutting down speed to power. This play right here, Young uses the speed to power, but this time Benedet doesn't do a good job cutting it off at the pass. These kind of plays are, I think, why he has more of a diagonal set. He ends up surrendering pressure to Caleb Williams. Let's check it out. There's a snap. Pressure comes. Short throw. Immediately tackled. All right, let's look at 79. Good kick step, good kick step. So right here, threatened with speed. Here comes the power, but he's off balance, right? Rammed right through his chest, driven right into the quarterback. Not ideal. Now, he doesn't give up the sack or anything, but it's such a quick throw, right? If this had been a longer drop back, there's a good chance 99 gets at least a hit on Caleb Williams, maybe even gets him to the ground. And it just speaks to the game Benedet had, right? Far from an elite game, but he was going up against a good opponent. Obviously, young player, there's going to be a lot of things to improve on. Ben Johnson himself said, listen, inconsistent at best, right? Some things to work on, but I think there are flashes. I think his future is very bright. It's clear the physical tools, the size, the strength, the arm length, that's all good. The athleticism, I like the effort, right? Even when he gets beat, he doesn't give up. He'll even manhandle people every once in a while. But I think if he can work on getting off his toes and recognizing when to use his hands to counter some of these moves, I think he'll have a bright future with the Bears.